Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this Reef Community AMA. It's been a really long time. My name is Derek Silva. I'm the operations lead here at Reef, and I just realized I have some plastic bags and stuff sitting on my bookshelf there, but never mind. It is what it is. We are here to answer your questions and to hear from the community. So, we are first. I'm going to start off with just the last couple months, a little bit of a personal note and a little bit of the professional side. I had a really good summer. Well, yeah, I had a pretty good summer. I hope you did as well. I made a couple of trips to the United States to mostly to watch some soccer, some football. I watched Canada against Peru in the Copa America near the end of June, which was amazing because Canada finally won an international game in a big international competition at their Copa America debut. Rather famously, went on to the semifinals, but I was there for that first game. That was incredible. Trip to Minnesota, which was really nice, and then a few days in Montreal, which a lot of you already know about. Worked through most of the trip in Minnesota. Also worked while I was in Kansas City, but it was still nice to get away and do something a little different for a little bit. Otherwise, been working away. Doing what we can to keep the reef ecosystem, get it growing. The number of wallets on chain has grown quite significantly. We posted yesterday on X that it had grown by over 22% in August alone. I understand, it didn't necessarily come entirely through good news. The Binance delisting definitely had an effect on that. But it still means more people who now have self-custodial wallets on Reef Chain. And at the end of the day, I think that's incredibly important. So that's what we've been doing there. And obviously, we launched the Reef Community Developer Fund a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago now. And that's going really well. Supported by Reef AQ as well. Pierre, thank you so much for the idea, for helping me execute it, getting the validator up and running, and to everybody else internally who was supportive and provided feedback on how it should operate. And then the transparency dashboard V1 went up on Tuesday as promised. So we're in a pretty good position here, and through some of the questions that came in through the community, I will be sharing some new information that has not been shared before, and some movement, very positive movement, and I'm not talking about prices, on things we've been trying to do. A little bit of inside baseball, I guess, to use an old term, but I do see all these chats coming in on YouTube. Thank you. I'm gonna try and save time for YouTube questions, live YouTube questions at the end. First, we're gonna start with the 50 some people who submitted questions. For better or worse, a lot of them were, I hear Reef is run on MPS consensus mechanism. What is that like? Guys, we are 3 years post-launch. If you were going to run an AMA with some rewards attached to it, you got to come up with something better, okay? I'm not here to answer Reef 101 questions today. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to update the community on what's been happening recently, what's happening going forward, not to answer questions about how the blockchain is designed and POS, how the EVM runs on substrate, stuff like that. We want to keep this more, give this more substance and what the community cares about, instead of stuff you can read online for yourself. Okay. I just realized I need to turn off my speakers here for my other small computer. And thank you, thank you, Sound of Rainfall. And I will talk a little bit about Binance, but I would suggest to you go to blog.reef.io. 3 or 4 entries back, we have big statement about Binance delisting Reef from spot trading not from futures trading. Um, at the end of the day, they didn't give us a solid reason. Kind of like what Apple does with app reviews. And yes, we're going to talk about the iOS version of Reef Chain Wallet. They don't give you a specific reason. It's like, here's a list of potential reasons. Okay, we'll do what we can with that. Just like they did when they put us on the monitoring list in the first place. They gave us a bunch of potential reasons why we might be on the monitoring list. What we gathered from that is we need to launch products. We need to launch more products. They want to see more from the team. We started delivering on that. Apparently it wasn't enough, or maybe it was something else. Anyway, we're 9 minutes into this, or at least 9 minutes past 1 p.m. So we're going to get into the actual questions that came in. Lucas, longtime community member. What is the plan to get rid of the ERC20 and BEP20, Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain, or BNB Smart Chain, representations of Reef? Right now, there isn't one. Obviously, there isn't a lot of utility to them. They are remnants of a bygone era when Reef's initial vision was to be a DeFi operating system, a liquidity aggregator, and all the rest. There are other projects trying to fill that gap right now. Reef is not it, at least not the way originally intended. What could potentially happen is we launch a token swapping mechanism on chain. Send your Ethereum representation of Reef here, we burn it, and we mint you new ones on Reef chain. That's a possibility, but we haven't built that yet or launched it. So it will probably be something like that. We do want to get rid of the Ethereum and BNB Smart Chain or BNB chain representations of Reef tokens eventually. Realistically, that's probably a 2025 initiative, not the rest of this year, especially since we only have 4 months left. But thank you very much for the question. It's a good one. Julian, also a longtime community member. Are developers already tasked to look through the code to fix the error with regards to the total amount of Reef in circulation? If not, when will they be tasked? So one, yes, they were tasked and they looked into it. And as it stands today, we don't see where that code is or that API endpoint. Now, that being said, we can fix that. And we're going to fix that. We will start with total supply first so that it's easier to get a total supply for all the Reef issued on Reef chain, plus the Ethereum and BNB chain representations of Reef. Then circulating supply will be informed by total supply, but obviously a little bit different. So the code is gone, or maybe it was never published to GitHub or any repositories that me, Matthias, Anukul, anybody else in the team have access to. And instead of banging our heads against the wall, trying to figure out where it is and how to revive the previous API endpoint, we're going to build a new one. That work should start later this month. It shouldn't take an incredibly long time, obviously. I also offered to the core team to have somebody else build it for us externally, because the solution seems relatively simple, but they prefer to keep it internal. So that work should start in a few weeks and wrap up, I'm guessing, a few weeks later. So I don't see any reason why sometime early Q4 that the total supply API should be back up and running and available. And obviously we'll go to places like CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, CoinPaprika, if we're there, and others, and share that information with them so that it's available. The centralized exchanges that have listed Reef, etc. And then and just iterate from there and get to the circulating supply side of that as well. Okay. So that's relatively new information. I had mentioned before on Telegram that I had asked about it. They're looking into it. That's the current answer. Mart, Is there any news regarding the Reef app supported on iOS? Yes. I'm gonna try and keep this short because I could probably make this story 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. My kids have heard it, my girlfriend has heard it, but I'm gonna try and keep it short for you. Just one second. Okay, so Apple initially well, okay. First of all, obviously we had released Reef Chain Wallet through test flight. 25 people were testing it from the community, including myself. Obviously, I have an iPhone 13 Pro, and things are going pretty good. There is an issue unique to iOS with relation to WebSocket connections. Um, we made some changes, and we were trying to push that latest update. Or we made a few different changes, pushed some different updates to see if it was more stable. And then I got a notice from Apple that said that they were proceeding to terminate our Apple developer account for reasons I don't I it doesn't really benefit anybody to get into. We have a third party company that we're going to use their developer account, Apple developer account, to publish the app. We did something similar for Google Play. Google doesn't seem to care. Um, Apple does. And so first they were threatening to terminate the account within 30 days or in 30 days. And I'm like, that's weird. And they give us a whole bunch of reasons, again, potentially why the app is a problem. I looked through the potential reasons. I came up with a incredibly long response that was probably about 2,400 characters long, and I submitted it point by point, what they might be thinking is the problem and how we can fix that. And then I realized after submitting that one that the whole thing didn't get through because it was more than 2,000 characters. So I had to edit it, and I replaced it. And I was also in contact with the rep on the app review team to get some update because it had been a while since I'd submitted that second appeal, and so that took about a week to finally come back. And then they accused us of engaging in potentially malicious behavior or misrepresentation or something like that. And after reading this thing over and over again and sharing it with the team internally, I came to the conclusion that it must be because we have a third party company that is not branded Reef publishing an app on Reef's behalf. Okay, fine. So we sent them a contract that shows there's a relationship between these two companies. And then they came back and said, okay, but this doesn't mention app publishing specifically. Now what? Okay, so took private chats, screenshots of private chats, relevant screenshots of private chats, and sent those to Apple middle of last week, about a week ago. And then yesterday morning, I woke up, I looked at my phone, and one of the first notifications I saw was that a new version of the Reef mobile app had been automatically downloaded and installed on my device. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? And so I went to my email, and sure enough, the app is in review. There's an issue with the app, but it's code related, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, we're through. That issue's been dealt with. That's literally taken almost 2 months to deal with the app review team and the appeals team and all of that. That being said, I appreciate the app review team and the appeals team going back and forth, not terminating my account or the account while we're in appeals and all that. So that's great. So the iOS version of Reef Chain Wallet is finally moving forward. We have to get the wallet testers back together again to make sure that the latest versions are good, and then we can release whatever the latest and greatest is. Some of those original issues might come up again. I don't know, so I'm not going to give a date, but it's finally happening. You know, this whole I guess policy, regulatory, not regulatory, policy perception issue has taken about 60 days to deal with, and we're moving forward. So that's great news. So again, new information shared here first. I need a drink, and I'm gonna pop over to the YouTube chat. Oh, hi Julian, Crypto Tings. You're welcome, Confi. You're welcome. Soon Coin. iOS 18, not at launch. Probably not. Well, okay. Honestly, I don't know. I shouldn't say not at launch. Depends on how close on when we can launch the app versus when iOS 18 comes out. iOS 18 might be late October. Apple has not done great lining up iPhone date with iOS, new version of iOS date over the last 2 or 3 years, and I would know because I have one. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Okay, good enough for now. So we're gonna go back to these questions here. Well, it's been about 10 minutes, not bad. My dog's barking. Tibor, what are your plans for a new Reef? Pardon me. That's what happens when I drink pop. Reef wallet browser extension. Are devs already working on it, or is it scheduled on a later date? So there is. I'm going to bring it up. Go to the Chrome Web Store and you type Reef Chain. You get this other option, Reef Easy Social Account Extension. We have not published that, or okay, it's published. We have not publicized that because I know it's still a really early version. It's supposed to allow you to log in with social accounts like Google, Facebook. I don't know what other ones, to be honest. We do need to spend some time on that, and it should make using Reef in your web browser easier. It's not a priority right now. Between the mobile app, making sure the mobile app's rock solid, and the existing Reef browser extension, I think we're pretty well covered. The Reef Chain Wallet the mobile app, supports Wallet Connect, which app.reef.io, and ReefSwap both support Wallet Connect. I don't recall off the top of my head whether Squid does. Obviously, we need to get to that as well. And so I don't think there's a huge need for another browser extension at this point. But yeah, when the core devs have a little bit of time and we can justify them spending time on that instead of something else, absolutely. We'll put some more time into that. And honestly, I think that's probably a feature, speaking only for myself right now, that's probably a feature that should come to the mobile app as well at some point, is being able to create a new wallet using your Apple account, Google, Facebook, maybe X. Who else is really popular? Amazon. And be able to make an account that way, back up the keys to Google Cloud, iCloud, Dropbox, some other storage place that you have set up, encrypted obviously, and be able to recover the account that way instead of having to write down or store your keys, your seed phrase in like a password manager or something like that. So we'll see. It already exists. It's already in the Chrome Web Store. If you type in Reef Chain, you'll see 2 options there. But I'm not going to vouch for how complete the other one is at this point because I haven't even tried it myself. I've been too busy doing other stuff. So we'll see what happens there. Oui? Je parle français? Oui? Oui. Do you enter on ordinals in the future? Ordinals were super hot late last year, early this year. We talked about it. We didn't have the capacity to create an ordinal minting platform and marketplace. So if we do this, it'll definitely it'll be another team that comes to Reef with that. Whether we fund that through the community developer fund or not, I like them. I think they're cool. I like how they can represent specific moments in time and all that, or on the blockchain. But yeah, it's again not a priority right now. Oh, wrong way. Okay, we've got a question from Noob about the future here, milestones, and then three different questions from Henny. Before we do that, I'm going to bring up the roadmap here. There it is. Nope. There we go. February. Apparently, I have a Brave or Opera extension that needs to be updated. Okay, cool. Am I gonna have? There we go. What do we see here? We see exactly what I wanted, what I want to show, but we see it backwards. Oh, here we go. I want the screen big. Oh, here we go. Aha. Screen. There we go. Okay, good stuff. So we have a question from Noob. Oh, perfect. Can you share the key milestones Reef Chain is focusing on over the next 12 months? What are the main priorities for your team? How do they align with Reef's long-term vision? So let's go through the roadmap here and kind of assess where we're at. Reef mobile app, that's released. It's on Android. The APK is available, and iOS coming soon. Finally, release Reef Swap on mainnet. We did that. That's done. Obviously, we keep working on it, but we did release it. Grow Squid. So this is something Cassie and I have been talking about a lot. I have Coinbase wallet on my device. I use it when I'm using or like accessing corporate funds on a variety of chains, and it works really well. It's a little too in your face sometimes. I also subscribe to a website called daylight.xyz, and based on what wallets I've connected there, they send me information or like NFT mints and stuff like that they think I might be interested in based on what I've done on chain before. So that's kind of cool. And those are often for the corporate account, my corporate wallet, and so I'll access it through Coinbase Wallet or in Brave because that's typically the browser I use for that sort of stuff. And they've been doing some really interesting work with artists and stuff like that for like really cheap, really inexpensive, or even free mints around a specific narrative. So Cassie and I have been talking about doing that sort of thing. Work with an artist, pay them for the work, get it minted on Squid, and make it either really inexpensive to mint on Squid because we can, or $1 worth of Reef or something like that, or maybe even less, 50 cents, 25 cents. But the proceeds, go to the artist, and we learn more about Squid and how people use it and can continue to improve it. So yes, we're working on a variety of ideas to grow Squid. The DAO protocol, which I will get to in a little bit, could also benefit from having Squid in place, should also benefit from having Squid in place. So we'll get to that. But yes, we're going to do that. The Launchpad / IDO platform, that's going to come. Hydra Starter was launched. Was it actually launched? I'm not even sure. I wasn't involved with Hydra Starter. It was previously called Reef Pad. It's not called Reef Pad anymore. Things were going pretty well about 2 years ago, and then they suddenly stalled. So that's something that the core team is going to go back to in the near future, and I do mean before the end of the year, and wrap up and launch. That's great, but once it's launched, obviously we need tokens or projects to use it. So we need to look at that and think about how to effectively market that, how to make sure people use that Launchpad IDO platform on Reef without sucking a ton of money out of Reef. Obviously, it needs to have its own incentives, and yeah. That's going to come, and we've talked about that internally in the last month. So, secure bridge partnership and launch. Oof. I really feel like we're so close on this. Finally, I'm trying to remember the time frame offered to me. Do I have the window open here? No. 1 second. I'm just double checking whether. Okay, potentially this is going to be before the end of the year. It would, if we started it today, it would take up quite a bit of the Reef Community Developer Fund funding, but obviously that could be worth it. And that's one of the reasons we haven't started it quite yet. And I told them straight up, like, we might not start this right away, but I at least wanted a cost. I wanted an estimate. If we started it today, it should be done just before the end of the year. And actually, this is if we started last week. So I don't know if it's going to come right before the end of 2024, but as I said, we do have a really good relationship, a reasonable cost, with a team who seems like they know what they're doing, and payments delivered on milestones as opposed to upfront. So I like them. Like I said, they seem to know what they're doing. We want to have a dev call first before we sign anything as well. But I think we're finally in a place where we found a team who knows what they're doing and is not asking for, and I kid you not, $650,000 to launch the bridge. That was ridiculous. And I did hear that number a little while ago, and it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, new Reef browser extension. Just talked about this. Bringing stablecoins to Reef chain, contingent on the bridge. So that might be existing other stablecoins, USDT, USDC, whatever DAI is called now, USDS. There's already another USDS, but whatever. Yeah. At this point, that's probably an early 2025 thing, contingent on the bridge launching. Reef name service. So I've shared before, Space ID decided that they would only work with ecosystems worth over $1 billion. That's their decision. When I wrote this, when we wrote this, I wasn't the only one who wrote it. We didn't know that. So the Mr. dApps team has already built a Reef name service. Obviously, we can work with them, and that's something we're going to talk about in the next few weeks, about integrating their name service. I've talked to them about it. They obviously want to see that happen, and they want to see RNS be useful outside of their ecosystem of apps that they're building. And I still really want to explore that. I don't think there's a need for us to build it ourselves internally, and yeah, when a solution already exists. So no promises there on working more closely with Mr. dApps. but I think it makes sense, and so do they. DAO infrastructure. I shouldn't be infrastructure, but yes, a DAO protocol, raise funds, conduct governance, allocate work, pay people out, etc. Yeah, that's coming. So Mathias and I spent 3 or 4 hours on the phone with a variety of developers throughout this week, mostly on Monday, also one yesterday. We've picked a developer who's going to do this, and this is going to be the first little bit of funding through the Community Developer Fund is going towards this. We've chosen a robust, well-used, well-reputed DAO protocol to fork, rebrand, and bring over to Reef Chain in accordance with their licensing. We're not, it's open source software, the contract's open source, front end is open source, etc. So yeah, that's going to happen. That work's probably going to start next week. Will certainly start next week. Mathias is going to have a couple of calls with that developer in order to make sure that they understand what's going on. And the time estimate is reasonable. We will do a little testnet campaign, have people test it, make sure it's working. We're not going to look for feature requests at that time. We just want to bring the protocol over as is and get it launched on Reef Chain under new branding. And then big hole will be filled. And that's good because that leads to potentially issuing NFTs through Squid for people who participate in the DAO. Being able to fundraise potentially and give NFTs and stuff like that. And obviously those need to be minted somewhere. The DAO protocol we've chosen does have a token. I need to do some more research. We need to do some more research on how they use their token, how it's emitted, and stuff like that to make sure either we mirror that with our own token or maybe we have some other ideas on how to do that. I don't think we're going to do an IDO or anything like that for fundraising through that token or anything like that. It's just going to be part of that ecosystem. Okay. Start looking into ZK proofs if we need it. Don't think we're going to need it this year. More developer education programs. This might not happen. We've got 4 months left in the year. Maybe we will start getting some new, somebody definitely needs to spend time on the documentation. And if we put any funding towards developer education, it'll probably go there because a lot of it's not that it needs to be updated, but it needs to be filled out. It needs to be a little bit more plain and easy to understand of like how to get your developer environment started, set up, Reef hard hat, replacing certain infrastructure you might be familiar with Reef's equivalent, stuff like that. So yeah, that does need to happen. And that's probably where any money will go, as opposed to hackathons, boot camps, stuff like that. Code snippets, yes, for sure. Expanding the geographical footprint, realistically, probably not this year now. Yeah, the Dev Arcade, unfortunately, I think that's dead. I'm going to see if I can find the code. This is a reminder for me to go do that. But the season of docs went really, really well. But I also don't have... I also need to find that. The person that was doing all this, I haven't been able to get a hold of in months. So yeah, this is kind of dead in its tracks at the moment, but we'll see what we can salvage from that and bring it back over. Okay, that was a long answer. Woo. Everybody good? You doing all right out there? Go back through the comments here. This is amazing, great. Any new devs coming to core team? Probably not before the end of the year. If we get a really good developer through one of these projects and it makes sense to bring them on full time, sure, we'll do that. But I really want to have some people prove themselves on some contracts first, and then and then we can look at bringing them on full time maybe early next year. How do you maintain your forehead so shiny? Bro, this is all natural. Very little hair grows up here. A lot of hair still grows around the side, except for like right behind my ears here. It's kind of weird. I started losing my hair at 17 years old. No joke. I've been shaving my head for over 20 years now. It was 20 years last month, I think. So yeah. Ba-bum. Are you thinking of designing a meme-themed logo for Sooncoin? That's a question for the Sooncoin team. Reef does not build Sooncoin, and that person, Layer 100 Crypto, is in here. So feel free to ask. You two can talk amongst yourselves. Dervish, Polat, and Sooncoin. Any new devs coming to Reef or using other devs outside of Reef to speed up progression? Yes, I just answered this, but going through the roadmap and talking about the DAO protocol, so that's good. Stablecoin, I talked about that. Mosaic is a whole separate issue. That's a different AMA for a different day. Lucas, did you miss it? I answered your question right at the beginning. There's no firm plan at this point to get rid of the ERC and BEP 20 representations of Reef. I mentioned how that could be done. I'm going to make you go all the way back to the beginning and listen to the answer. Tuka, you already submitted questions earlier. It's not fair for you to send more now. Okay. Let's get back here. Oh, I already put it up. Henny6682 wants to know, how does the introduction of the Reef Community Developer Fund, aka the CDF, aim to address the recent concerns raised by the community, and how will it contribute to Reef's growth and resilience during challenging times? Good question. So, well, technically it's two questions, two-parter. So, in terms of the concerns, I mean, where we are now is mostly the result of a lack of activity on Reef Chain. The core team should not, in my opinion, should not build everything. That's not how this works. We built the node software. Cool, that's important. Reef Chain extension, very important. You need an entry, a gateway into the ecosystem. The Reef app, we used to have these Reef baskets. We've had the Reef community bond. Obviously, you can nominate a validator and earn Reef as part of from the inflation rewards that go to validators and nominators. And we have Reef Swap, which, I mean, for the first few weeks was going gangbusters. But with a lack of new tokens launching with some utility and whatnot, the activities definitely died down. So ultimately, we need more things to do on Reef Chain, things to do natively. Play games, start a DAO, run an IDO or a crowdfunding campaign, borrow and lend, maybe buy some real world assets, things like that. People need things to do. The more you do, the more Reef you burn. The more Reef you burn, the fewer Reef there are. And we start creating what I like to call a virtuous cycle of usage and token burning, and ultimately more people in the door. More people in the door brings more projects in the door, which brings more people. Again, virtuous circle. So the CDF is going to fill some major gaps that we have right now that make a lot of that possible. Will give us some marketing funding as well to actually spend and make people aware of the fact that this DAO protocol exists, that Hydra Starter exists and works on Reef Chain, that there's a new, easier to use wallet, more money for marketing the mobile app, etc. I've said many times already in Discord and Telegram, we have the funding to keep doing what we're doing. The CDF is accelerating, or the goal is to accelerate the number of projects that are deploying on Reef Chain, and being able to market them or provide incentives for using them. That's where it goes, and that benefits everybody. What specific criteria will be used to allocate the funds from the CDF, and how will these decisions align with Reef's strategic priorities for ecosystem development? So I just gave an example. We're using CDF funding to bring this DAO protocol over to Reef Chain. Big hole that we're filling there. It will probably not go towards the Reef name service unless it goes for marketing it. It will go towards almost, as long as everybody else agrees, towards the bridge partnership and getting that done. Maybe a little bit towards growing squid, bringing some artists over. And I guess those are the three big things from the roadmap where we would use that, and to some better documentation for developers, because I know that that's an area where we're lacking. Once you know what you're doing, it's easy, but getting up to speed is the hard part. And I think too much of it is in video right now. Not enough of it is in text. And so that's something I want to fix. Sorry, I'm getting all these alerts on my phone, but I'm trying to ignore them. Getting more people on Reef Chain, getting more projects on Reef Chain, getting more Reef Chain usage. That's ultimately those numbers go up, we're all happy. People using Reef, exchanges are coming to us to want to list Reef Chain. Projects want to launch their tokens and launch their apps on Reef Chain, etc. We're at well over 25,000 active wallets now. We get to 30, we get to 40, we get to 50 for a variety of reasons. And just makes it way, way easier to attract good projects to Reef Chain and minimize the grant size or whatever funding mechanism we use, because they know that the opportunity is there to earn a bunch of money. So just by deploying and having their protocol or their app usable on Reef Chain. Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. And the funds allocated from the CDF, the specific criteria ultimately is this a need? And if it's a need, is it something that the core team can get done in the next, 3 months, let's say, depending on what the issue is or what the need is. If the answer is yes and then no, we probably need to farm it out. And before we do that, I check with the core development team, like, how hard is it to do this? Do we have time to do it, by X date? Yes, we have time, but not before that date or whatever. Okay, then we need to source it out to somebody else. And of course, the amount of funding being asked for has to be reasonable. People coming to us with $50,000 asks or $100,000 asks, that's not happening right now. We're looking for not small, but like small to mid-size, relatively quick wins, so that we're filling these gaps in a reasonable amount of time. Like, if we really push this person, we could probably get the DAO protocol on Reef Chain in 4 to 6 weeks. That's reasonable, especially since it already exists. We're not coding a new one from scratch. I've reached out to some of these token gating tools about getting Reef supported. Can we fund the development? And they just pull it live. They pull the code in. Unfortunately, I'm still waiting for answers on that. But like that sort of thing. Or, if it's all available and they don't want to do it with their tool, fine. We can, again, licensing permitting, we can fork it, we can rebrand it, we'll make it work on Reef Chain, and we'll get it live, and we'll use it in our Discord, and we'll use it in our Telegram, and we'll make a website for it where it's easy to access the bot and add it to your community, and we're off. Like, that's not something that will take an incredible amount of time. It would probably cost less than $1,000 to have another developer do it. And I'm just kind of in this place where, like, I'm done waiting. I'm done waiting for people to say yes to things. I'm done waiting for people to allocate funding to things. I'm done waiting for people to give us permission to work with them, without violating any rules or laws. We will, move forward in our own way. And because that's what it seems like we need to do in a friendly way. Mm, I think I've already kind of answered this question, Henny. More dApps, more people, more dApps, more people. It kind of goes in a circle. It's not that simple, but we need to get the ball rolling, and that's exactly what we're doing. Okay, Hayes. Are there any new partnerships or projects in the pipeline that you're particularly excited about? So, yes, um, I'm supposed to be on an X Space through Reef's account, run by this company that runs events in like three or four different good size events around the world every year. Still waiting for them to promote it. But that's scheduled for tomorrow morning. So if all goes well, you'll see Reef's X account, Twitter, participating in a Spaces audio chat tomorrow. More of those should be coming up. Aiming to be at a conference Q1 2025. That would be our first one in quite a while. And it might not be a huge presence, but it'll be a presence. And like I said, it'll be the first one in a long time. And I think that's really important. If the CDF has enough funding there, and the more I think about it, the more I'm trying to stretch it pretty thin. But, if we get enough out of it to do that, and obviously if the market cap of the blockchain rises, then there's more USD funding there to do this sort of thing. I'd really like to have a small booth or a medium-sized booth there with some of our community managers on site. Somebody from Reef doing a talk. We'll see. That's a bit of a stretch goal right now, but I think it's something we can do and we can hit through the CDF and some other funding. So, that's one that's just come in recently. This bridge partnership. I just had a quick look through the memorandum of understanding while I was answering the question here. That looks really good. Like I said, the amount of money asked for to do this work makes sense, and is not in the six figures. But we haven't announced that yet because I haven't signed the MOU yet. StealthX integration coming to the mobile app, that's in development. I'm just gonna look through my chats here real quick to see if there's anything else. We've been discussing having a third-party blockchain explorer get up and running that would also have the Reef burn, the number of Reef burnt listed. Not sure we'll move forward with that. It's again, we want to make sure it makes sense, but that's a possibility. Yeah, some other developer tooling, like some third party decentralized storage. We do have a game that could potentially come to Reef if we agree on a grant size. That would definitely be something funded by the CDF. So again, I'm trying to be careful of how much we're allocating versus how much is being realized, and making sure that those numbers line up. I'm gonna go back to this one here. We're talking to some centralized exchanges about getting Reef chain integrated. That would obviously be a nice thing just for ease of access. We've also talked to a Web3 browser developer recently about getting About doing something, maybe getting the Reef browser extension natively pre-installed, which would put it on like a few million more devices, and doing some promo with them to get people using Reef Swap. Again, we haven't confirmed anything yet, but that's a possibility. One other big one would be hardware wallet support. I need to get a number for getting the Ledger app audited, like a value for how much that would cost. If that's super cost prohibitive for some reason, then we've got a potential other relationship with a hardware wallet provider to integrate Reef. There would, if we do it that way, there would be a little pre-order campaign for Reef community members to pre-order the wallet if you're looking for hardware wallet support. Yeah, and if that works out, then we would have a hardware wallet that supports Reef Chain, and would keep your funds and your tokens more secure than they are now being in a hot wallet. This would be more of a cold wallet. One other thing I'd really like to do is work with a company that does like white label app development, not white label app development, kind of like has like app templates that you just be able to like make some changes, deploy my token, blah, 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 launch, right? Your token's there, they're staking, maybe there's a minting thing, swapping mechanism, whatever you need. They have a whole bunch of templates. Some are good, some could use some improvement, but that would make it a lot easier for people to launch a variety of apps on Reef Chain. I'm still waiting for some info from them. Their tech lead right now is on sick leave, so hopefully they're feeling okay in a couple weeks, and we can talk to them about what it would take to get Reef Chain integrated, and also to get their templates a bit improved, because like I said, some of them could use a little work. But yeah, and if you have suggestions on platforms like that could work with Reef Chain, we're all ears. I'd love to hear them. Cool. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 left. I'm going to try to speed through these because it's almost 2 p.m. One initiatives are in place to encourage more developers and projects to build on Reef Chain. How does Reef plan to foster and support its community going forward? So I mentioned needing to improve the developer documentation. That's a priority before the end of the year, getting that beefed up, more filled out, easier to follow, so that you're in a place where, especially if you already have an app on Ethereum, BNB chain, Polygon, etc. Okay, what do I actually need to do to shunt in, Reef hard hat to instantiate Reef chain connections and blah, blah, blah. And I've heard Mathias explain this 3 or 4 times already this week. Again, it's not difficult. It just requires time, but it's not super obvious from our documentation on how to make that happen. So that's something we can do. The CDF, once we have done a couple things, we see how it's working, we see how much is coming in over a 2 or 3 month period, potentially we can actually set up a specific allocation each month that's available to people, to developers who completely outside of our primary goals, they're bringing apps to Reef Chain. Stacks does this with their STX token. I get their newsletter. They allocate like 10,000 stacks per month, STX per month. I don't even know what that's worth. It could be $10. It could be $25,000. I have no idea because I haven't looked at that. But that's an interesting idea and something we could potentially do. Otherwise, like I said, we're trying to fill some basic gaps here with the CDF so that there are fewer opportunities for people to say, oh, I can't launch my dApp on Reef Chain because X is missing, because Y is missing, because Z is missing. We're taking X, Y, and Z, we're getting those holes filled so that that's not an issue. And so if it's more about the time, co-marketing, etc., small grant, fine. Let's talk about that. Let's get that cleared out of the way, and let's get moving forward so that if it's an investment DAO who wants to run things on Reef and they want to invest in projects on Reef, obviously they wouldn't want to run the DAO on Reef, but there's no DAO protocol. Well, what the heck are you going to do? You're going to run it on Ethereum, but allocate all the funds to projects on Reef? Like it's doable, but then you need a bridge. So again, we got to figure that out. Tuka, Tuka. I'm gonna go with Tuka. Are we gonna hire new developers? Not to core team. I had mentioned this earlier. We're gonna work on a project basis for a little while, get some projects out of the way, get some of these holes filled, give us some breathing room in between to A, collect some more funds from the CDF, B, do a little bit of a post-mortem and make sure, like, did that go well? What did we learn for the next engagement? What do developers need to know ahead of time? We think we've got all that, more or less handled right now, but we need an opportunity to learn from this first project, make sure it goes well, and then maybe we'll just rehire that same person to do another thing, or maybe we'll have enough money to do that person to do one more thing that takes 2 or 3 weeks, and then somebody else to do the same another thing that takes 2 or 3 weeks, and launch 2 things back to back. We'll see. We're only 2 weeks into the CDF existing, not even. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow, and so I don't want to overcommit to things like consistent monthly spending on a new developer when, we could probably fill their time, but I like to see people prove themselves on like a one project thing first. Crypto Joshua, I couldn't fit your whole question here, so I'm gonna have to open up numbers and read the original question from there. Where is it? Crypto Joshua. There we go. In order of priority. Oh, I gotta copy and paste this to another app. 1 sec. It was a long question. Okay, in order of priority. Which of these are the next activities that will be realized? Finding new venture capitalists, DAO protocol on Reef chain, launching a new bridge, stable coins on Reef chain, listing on new sexes, centralized exchanges, CeFi and DeFi aggregator, direct or indirect development of new apps on Reef chain, release of iOS app, fix API bug. Okay, I'm literally going to sort these out as I do this. Okay, so finding new venture capitalists, not my thing. I do not have authority to negotiate with VCs, so I'm not going to. When VCs or alleged VCs come to us and say, hey, I want to buy a bunch of Reef, I say, cool, I'm going to forward this to the CFO. And the CFO, if they're interested, will let you know. As far as I know, that hasn't worked out because, as far as I can tell, we're not that interested. So I'm putting that last on the list. DAO protocol and Reef chain, at this point, that's number 1 in the list because we are going to award that contract right after this call. Get that guy on a kickoff call with Mathias probably next week, and then go from there. Give them a few days, make sure things are good. And as long as those first few days, that first week works out, then we'll let him finish the project. Stable coins on Reef chain comes after a bridge. So I'm going to say right now, number 1 is DAO protocol on Reef chain. Number 2 is probably, that kind of goes with it, DAO protocol direct or indirect development of new apps on Reef chain. Internally, fix API bug. Total supply, again, I make no promise on circulating supply right now, but total supply for sure. Number 3 would be release of iOS app because, hallelujah, Apple has decided to accept the information provided and let us move forward with that. Launching a new bridge has to come before stablecoins in terms of third-party existing stablecoins. I'm gonna put that at number 5. Stablecoins on Reef Chain at number 6. CeFi and DeFi aggregator at number 7. Listing on new sexes, and then finding VCs. For me, finding VCs is not the goal here. My goal is to get more dApps on Reef Chain. Obviously, those could be backed by VCs, and that's great. All the more power to them. But for Reef, not the priority. So to take your list of 8 or 9 things here, my priority list, at least, is DAO protocol on a Reef Chain, direct or indirect development of new apps on Reef Chain, fix the API bug. Those are in tandem. I'm not fixing the API bug, somebody else is. Release of iOS app, launching a new bridge, or launching a bridge. It's not a new bridge, it's any bridge. We don't have one yet. Stable coins on Reef Chain, because that comes after the bridge. Then you start to develop a bigger DeFi ecosystem. And so then you can get a CeFi and DeFi aggregator on Reef Chain. And if opportunities come up, which they are right now, listing on new centralized exchanges, again, it's not a priority. I've done some outreach with some existing groups that I'm in, but it's not a huge priority. If it doesn't make sense, or if they ask for a ridiculous amount of money to integrate the chain or whatever, we'll leave it. We'll leave it for later or for early next year. To me, that's not a huge priority. Yeah, so there you go. Last question that came in through Gleam. When will the commission be lower? Alexander, I have to assume that you're talking about the Community Developer Fund. We can drop the commission when it makes sense to. Talking about current token prices, I don't do speculation. Talking about current token prices, it's at 0.0000. How many zeros? No, there we go. Oh, it's CoinMarketCap. Whatever, fine. I was going for CoinGecko. We're at 0.001093. Okay, so if we were at 0015, 001, or 002, we could start to look at reducing the commission on the Community Developer Fund. But I want to make sure this thing works, and to make sure that this thing works, the CDF, we need to have a decent amount of funding coming in. At the current price, I think we're going around $6,000 a month US. It's not bad. Realistically, that's like one full-time developer in Europe, like full-time Web3 full-stack developer. It doesn't get you that far, unfortunately. So it does get us much further with contractors on a project basis, depending on where they're based. So like I said, we're going to go with that route for now. If we're at 003, 004, we're bringing like $20,000 a month into the Community Developer Fund, then we can look at lowering the commission to 85, 80%, something like that, so that more of the rewards are going to the nominators. If it makes you feel any better, my personal wallet is bonded to the CDF and restaking the rewards. Corporate wallet is bound to the CDF and restaking rewards. So I was previously bonded to GigaStake and FlowerStake and ReefAQ in the past, getting 90 or 95% rewards. I've given that all up myself to help get the CDF into the active validator set and make sure that this idea works. I'm staking my own funds on this initiative as well. So I'm confident it's going to work, or else I wouldn't have bothered to get it off the ground in the first place. But the commission can come down when there's more than enough funding coming in each day, each month. Whew. All right. So I'm going to go back through the chat here. Michael, number one, Binance, number two, Coinbase. I got to reach out to Coinbase. Flavio, I don't know if that 1 billion Reef minted 2 years ago will ever be burnt. I can't answer that for you. Sensei, I see my name in your message, but I can't read the rest of that. I'm sorry. I don't speak Turkish. Is Reef safe enough to use it as a security for a crypto exchange and use the entire Reef chain for security? I don't think I understand your question. Sorry. All sounds great. Just need to push through all this juicy information. Good stuff. How about bridge and line? Already answered that question multiple times. Akinwale, thank you. Much appreciated. When will there be positive developments for the Reef? Now. No. Neapolis free charter, Napoli, Italy. That sounds interesting. I'm going to have to free chapter, not charter. No, I'm not in line to become CEO of Reef. Denko is still CEO. He's in charge. And, as has been mentioned a few times, he doesn't want to be the public face anymore. So, hi, that's me. Sure, cool. Are Reef related to Polkadot ETF rumored will launch 2025? No. But this a small amount burn limited to 10% max supply. That's probably a follow-on to something I said, but I'm missing context. Sorry, Michael. How to get more nominators on Reef Chain? Maybe increase price of nominators challenge. The prize, yes, Tuka. So it goes up by 500 Reef every day. So what are we at now? If we were to hit 1,000 nominators today, it started off at 25,000. Here we go. That started August 12th. So how far are we into this? 3 weeks? 1, 2, so I got 7, 14, 21, 24 days times 24, cool, plus 25,000. Whoa. No, hang on. That doesn't make it. There we go. So the prize today would be 37,000 Reef. Honestly, I'm happy to keep this thing going. This is really for small nominators. Every nomination counts. Every nomination helps increase the security of the blockchain, even if that person isn't in the top 64 nominators on a validator. So I would say, even if somebody has, I think we said 25,000 was the minimum. So even if you have 25,000 Reef and I almost messed up there. And CoinGecko is a great tool for figuring out USD value for something really quickly. If somebody has $27.27, 28 cents US worth of Reef that they're willing to just hang on to and put into the protocol for a little bit, 3 months, 6 months, they're eligible. We're not saying you need to commit $1,000 worth of Reef in order to win $27 worth. Every little nomination counts. Every single one helps increase the security of the blockchain at the very least. And if you nominate on the Community Developer Fund right now, 25,000 is enough to get some rewards out of the CDF and help the CDF generate more rewards. So I think that's worth doing. You don't need $1,092, which is $1 million a Reef, in order to help the CDF. Yes, maybe you won't win an iPhone, but it's still worth it, I think, to set aside less than $30 US worth of Reef. And I've seen people say, I have a few million Reef, I have 250,000 Reef, I have 10 million Reef, etc. Well, if you're planning on hanging on to them and waiting for more dApps to get on the Reef chain, then allocate some of that to any nominator in order to participate in the Reef 1000 Nominators Challenge. And if you want to help out the CDF and help build the Reef chain, grow the ecosystem, at least $1 million to get you eligible for a brand new iPhone 16, which we're going to see next week. That Apple announcement is next Monday, or hundreds of dollars worth of Soon or Mr. dApp or MRD tokens. So again, I think that's worth it, especially when we can build a really, really bright future here for the Reef chain ecosystem. C__, thank you. I'm just going to throw that up real quick here. Sooncoin, how do you think you can ever compete with other blockchains if you only have 2 core developers? We're going to find out. Annie, thank you for the comments. And I think that's it. Oh, if someone else says before, just don't have a scroll. Any new projects that are planning on launch on Reef? I don't have any names to share right now. We have the bridge. Technically, that would launch on Reef. We have a game who's looking for a grant. They're doing really well on one blockchain, on the one blockchain that they're on. Tens of thousands of users, of players, lots of traffic there. So, but need to make sure that we don't outstrip the CDF capabilities there to fund these sorts of things. When we also have a bridge we need to fund, when we also have other dApps we'd like to fund. So, if you want to see that happen faster, I can't say enough. Please bond tokens to the Community Developer Fund. It's generating right now. I should have left that tab open. It's generating on average, let's say, 185, about $200 a day, which is not bad. That's all at today's price. It's about 6,000 US per month. So, yeah. That's still, it lets us do a lot more than we were, a month ago. But it doesn't let us do everything we'd like to do in quick succession. We need to save a little bit and then say, okay, you guys can start, because by the time you get to milestone 1, we're gonna have enough to pay for that, and then to milestone 2, and then to milestone 3, or whatever. So again, I'm imploring you, if you want to see the Reef ecosystem grow, bond any amount to the Community Developer Fund through the console or through Fearless Wallet's mobile app. And if you want to be eligible to win an iPhone after a 6-month period, or $500 or $250 worth of Soon and MRD tokens, then bond at least 1 million Reef to the CDF, to the Community Developer Fund validator. The more people do that, the more rewards we gain each day, and the faster we can grow this ecosystem. That's kind of the end of it. Okay, guys, any big leak? Bro, the iOS app is finally coming because Apple stopped. We satisfied all of their concerns, I guess, about the corporation that's actually publishing the app versus, Reef's branding on the app. Shoot, what were the other questions? I know, lots of leaks. Anyway, thanks a lot for your time, everybody. We really appreciate it. I love the fact that there are almost 1,000 people watching this on YouTube. It's also being simulcast on our X account and Facebook and ReefAQ's Twitch account. I didn't even tell them I was going to do that, but they made it available to me before, and Restream was still connected, so we did that there. Yeah, so thank you for watching, for sticking with us, for bonding to the Community Developer Fund, and let's get this going. Good night, everybody.